Hey there, this is Jamie from Stonemaier Games, and I am so excited today to talk about some of my favorite games and a few other categories from 2022. So this list, today's list, is kind of the big one. This is the list of new-to-me games that were released or widely available in 2022. And there are a few games on this list that are a little debatable there, like maybe they came out at the very end of 2021, but the point is they weren't widely available until 2022. And yeah, I have a lot to talk about today. I'll talk about games, talk about my favorite mechanisms in those games. Before I get to those games, I have a few other categories I'll hit really quick. The first is Stonemaier Games, the company that I help run. We had some new releases this year. We had a little game called Smitten, our first cooperative game. This was a little 1 to 2 player cooperative game that I designed. We had a new edition of Between Two Cities, the Between Two Cities Essential Edition, which combines the original Between Two Cities and the expansion together in one box. And along with that, we also had Wingspan Asia. Wingspan Asia is a few things. It's an expansion for Wingspan. It's also a standalone game for 1 to 2 players using the special duet mode. I'm loving this game so far, game/expansion. And we had a new version of the classic game Libertalia. Libertalia Winds of Galecrest is our version of it. It was so much fun to work with Paolo on this game. This is a simultaneous game for 1 to 6 players where you are simultaneously choosing a pirate to play, and pirates activate their abilities. They gain some loot. They come back to the ship. And yeah, I had a lot of fun working on this game, and I still have a lot of fun playing this game. So that's Libertalia. We also had Viticulture World. I forgot to get out that box. But yes, Viticulture World is our big cooperative expansion for Viticulture. If you like a difficult cooperative challenge with a lot of asymmetry in terms of what you're competing against, what you're kind of doing during the game. There are a bunch of different modules that we have in the game that you can play against or play on different continents in Viticulture World, hence the name. So those were the Stonemaier releases from this year. Oh, we also had a bunch of Rolling Realms promos released this year. We had the Arc Nova promo, Architects of the West Kingdom, and each of these is essentially a mini game on its own. Micro Dojo, we have a Smitten one, we have a Feast for Odin one, and a Honeybuzz one, and also one for Libertalia as well. So yeah, a lot of fun creating those promo realms with Carell, who's become the design lead for the Rolling Realms promos. That's Stonemaier stuff. Favorite expansions. So my favorite expansions for the past year, and really these are probably all of the expansions that I played in the last year. I didn't play a ton of expansions in 2022. I played a few Magic sets. I consider Magic the Gathering sets to be expansions, even though they do stand alone. There was Kamigawa Neon Dynasty and Dominaria United. I really enjoyed both of those sets. I played the Aquatica expansion for the first time. That was probably a release before 2022, but I played it for the first time this year. The Rise of Ix became widely available in 2022. That's a Dune Imperium expansion. I really enjoy that. And the Kittens, I wrote Kittens and Boats here. Kittens and Beasts, not Kittens and Boats. Kittens and Beasts expansion for the Isle of Cats. I've had a lot of fun with that as well. Previously mentioned, I had a previous video about my favorite sequels and new additions from 2022, and I'll mention the top 5 real quick. Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, Clank Catacombs, Castles of Mac and Ludwig Collector's Edition, Terra Nova, and Marvel Dice Throne. And also, I had a recent list of my favorite new-to-me games that were released or widely available before 2022. My top 5 there were Savannah Park, Nirvana, Clover, Rumble Nation, and Skull King. I also played a few digital games in 2022. I play a fair number of tabletop games digitally on Board Game Arena, but it's rare that I play a game that is pretty much only available as a digital game. I want to do that a little bit more in 2023, I think. And I think I only played 3 of them. I have 3 on this list, but I enjoyed all of them quite a bit. I enjoyed Marvel Snap, Dicey Dungeons, and Inscryption. Those are the 3 that I played in 2022 and really enjoyed. I have videos about all 3 of those. A few other quick lists here before I get to the top 10. 2022 releases that I haven't had the chance to try yet that I'm the most eager to try are Endless Winter, First Rat, Heat, Soulforge Fusion, Oathsworn, Revive, Marvel Remix, Foundations of Rome, and War of the Ring, the card game. So you won't see any of those games on this list because I haven't played them yet, but I do look forward to playing them in 2023. And a couple more here. 2023 releases that I'm the most excited to play, if these games end up actually coming out in 2023, are Earthborn Rangers, The Seventh Citadel, Mythwind, Star Realms Rise of the Empire, Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, Steam Up, Race to the Raft, Chicken, the new Role Player Adventures expansion, Elevensies, Sagrada Artisans, The Fox Experiment, Nomadic Gardeners, Robomon, First in Flight, Library Labyrinth, Ra, Bark Avenue, Trailblazer, Tidal Blades 2, Blazon, Soul Raiders, Tranquility the Ascent, Heck and Hounds, and Darwin's Journey. We have some ambassador picks. So Stonemaier ambassadors picked games that could apply for this list, and their picks are in, it looks like, alphabetical order here: Ark Nova, Carnegie, Dead Reckoning, Endless Winter, First Rat, Flamecraft, Foundations of Rome, Guild of Merchant Explorers, Heat, Pedal to the Metal, ISS Vanguard, Lacrimosa, Mosaic, Planet Unknown, Revive, Three Sisters, Twilight Inscryption, Wayfarers of the South Tigris, Weather Machine, and Wonderland's War. So those were the ambassador picks. And finally, we have picks from my coworkers. Susanna's favorite so these are 2023 releases. Susanna's pick was Guild of Merchant Explorers. Joe and Dave both picked Cat in the Box. Alex picked Scout, Ark Nova, and War of the Ring, the card game. And Morton picked Ark Nova. Some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the top 10. And this was, I have to say, a really, really tough list to cut down on. I had a lot of fun with games in 2022, and these are all really, really good games. So I feel bad relegating them to the honorable mentions list where they won't get the same attention as the top 10. But really, these are great games. I have videos about all of them. If any of them intrigue you, go check them out. Dead Reckoning, a fantastic pirate/merchant adventure on the high seas game with some strong Euro elements. If you like Scythe, I think you'll like Dead Reckoning. Gift of Tulips, a really interesting stock game using flowers. The Siege of Rundar. This is a great cooperative game, a great cooperative puzzle. Such simple mechanisms that really have you that feeling like you are fighting with your friends against these orcs that are invading, and you're just trying to get out. You're a dwarf trying to get at least one piece of gold out of this fortress that's being besieged. Starship Captains, a really great mission-based game with strong Euro elements. Wayfarers of the South Tigris, probably one of the heaviest games that I played this year, but like any Garphill game, it's really, really well designed, and I love the panoramas used in the game. You're just creating these vast panoramas that look fantastic on the table. Wicked and Wise, it was really, this was a fantastic game, fantastic trick-taking game, really, really innovative game. I've now played it with 2 players and with 4 players in team mode. I enjoy both of them quite a bit. If you like trick-taking games, I highly recommend trying Wicked and Wise. Fun Facts. Fun Facts is a game that's super simple. I just played it this past weekend for the first time, and we played it for hours, where you are, everyone is asked a question, and everyone writes down a numerical answer to that question. It's not a trivia game. You're writing down a personal answer to a question, and then you're trying to order each person's answer in ascending order numerically without knowing what those numbers are. You only know who wrote down the answer. It's a great getting to know you game. It's a great starter for a game night. Fantastic game. Fun Facts. Wonderland's War. This came so close to making the top 10. I really enjoyed my one play of Wonderland's War so far, but I haven't gotten it back to the table yet. I love bag building. I love the little area control battles and what they mean for each round in Wonderland's War. I look forward to playing it again. Really close to making this top 10. As was Creature Comforts, which I just played at 3 players for the first time yesterday. I haven't even filmed my favorite mechanism video of it yet, but I really, really enjoyed this game. It's a great worker placement game with a little bit of dice added in there, resource collection. You're building some things. So there's engine building. There's an order completion that also enhances the points for your other cards. And it feels really good to play. It was really pleasant to play. I look forward to playing it again. I think maybe the one thing that will hold it back a little bit is that at higher player counts, and it does play up to 5, there's a fair amount of downtime between turns. And so that's why, that's probably the only reason that it didn't quite make the top 10. I probably would not play Creature Comforts above 3 players. But still, really, really good game. I look forward to playing again. And last, this is maybe the toughest game to cut, Scout. Scout is a game that came out really late in 2021, but it came widely available in 2022. It's a wonderful ladder climbing game with a great hand management system. really you're not entirely managing your hand. You're deciding when to insert cards into your hand, and you can't change the order of the cards in your hand. I love Scout. I will gladly always play it, but there were 10 games that I would probably pick over Scout in the future, and so it just barely bumped out of the top 10. Let's jump into the top 10 though. At number 10 is a game called Trick Takers. This one caught me off guard. I had no idea that this game existed. It is essentially the game Root, with like how vast the asymmetry is in the game, but with trick taking. And so each player has an asymmetric character that they are using for that round, and that character has a very, very different style of play, a very different way to win, to have instant win conditions, to score points than the other characters. And I'm talking like vastly different ways of playing and scoring points. And one of the coolest things about this game that differentiates it from a game like Root, in my opinion, is that you play multiple rounds of Trick Takers, and in each round, you select a different character to use. So you aren't locked into that asymmetry for the entire game. Rather, you get to try out these new characters based on your hand, too. So you get to see your hand of cards and then choose the character that hopefully you want, if someone else hasn't selected that character, that best fits your hand. It is a very difficult game to play because not only are you managing your own asymmetry, but you have to pay attention to all the different other things that other players are doing. And the game also isn't truly widely available, but you can order it through some game stores. But it's addictive to try to play these different characters. Every time I've played, I've wanted to try one more character, play one more time, play one more character, and try to max and pick the right character to match the hand. It's a great game. If you like asymmetric games, if you like trick-taking games, I highly recommend Trick Takers. That's my number 10 game of 2022. At number 9 is First Ascent. This is a game of rock climbing that is so good at capturing that theme of rock climbing, but it also combines some really, really satisfying mechanisms. You're basically just moving up this mountain. You're trying to climb up this mountain, and it uses a bit of, I don't quite want to call it set collection, but you're combining some icons that make it possible for you to move on to the next hex, whether you're going up or down or sideways, wherever you decide to go to move up this hill to gain points. And there are some points at the top of the mountain as well. The coolest thing about this game, though, and I talk about this in my mechanism, and really there's a lot of stuff I could talk about, but my favorite mechanism is that as you use one of the 4 different skill categories, there are 4 different skill categories that you're playing cards onto your mat here. You can see it very small right here. The more you use them, the better you get at those skills. And so if you use if you have played 4 cards into one of those skill categories, you wipe those cards, or you may wipe those cards, and you gain a permanent skill token for that category. I love this element of it's not even, First Ascent is not a skill test game, but it does have these skills in it, and I would love to see this mechanism in other skill test games as well, or other games that have skill tests in them. The idea that if you simply do a thing a lot, you permanently upgrade your ability to take that skill. It isn't abstracted. It's more like real life. If I go rock climbing 4 days in a row or 4 weeks in a row, I'm going to get better at rock climbing, so my rock climbing skill should improve. It's such a great addition to this game, and that's just one of many, many mechanisms that make me eager to get this game back to the table. First Ascent is my number 9 game of 2022. My number 8 favorite game of 2022 is one that I just got back from a friend who borrowed it, The Adventures of Robin Hood. Again, this is a game that came out really late in 2021, but I think it was widely available in the US at least in 2022. This is a short campaign game. I believe it was 5 or 6 games of the campaign. And it's a cooperative game. Megan and I played it together and had a blast with it. Part of the fun of it is that the board is a bit like an advent calendar where you're popping pieces out of the board and revealing new stuff and using the board to track information from game to game. I think that's really, really cool, especially the surprise reveal and the fact that that board is completely resettable. It isn't a legacy game. But also the bag building mechanisms in this game are really fun and interesting. The way that the different reasons that you're pulling tokens out of bags at different times to either have successes to determine player order. Really clever use of bag building in The Adventures of Robin Hood. We just had a lot of fun with it. It's not a complex game. Oh, and the storybook is fantastic too. The storybook, there's a big book that really looks like a real book. Let's see if I can pull it out real quick. Yeah, here we go. Here's the book. Like, it is a beautiful hardcover book that uses some ribbons here. You can see those ribbons to mark different pages that you've been on and where you need to go and what you need to refer to. And all of the rules are included in that book. To get started into this game, all you need to do is read the basic movement rules. Like, all you have to do to start the game is read this one page. And then from then on, that book, that hardcover book, walks you through everything that you need to do and remember throughout the game. So it made it really easy to revisit the game, even if we hadn't played it for a few weeks, to go back and play the next scenario. The Adventures of Robin Hood, fantastic mini campaign game. I highly recommend it. That's my number 8 game of 2022. And number 7 is Dog Park. Dog Park, I think, has been compared to Wingspan a little bit, but they're very different games, except for the fact that there's such a wide variety, a vast variety of different dog cards in this game. And in that way, I get the same collectible feel that I get from when I play Wingspan, but from dogs. And there's so many different breeds of dogs. You can see some of them here. So many different breeds of dogs that you can explore and learn about. It's one of those games where there are times where I just see a dog that looks fun or cute, or a dog that I know that dog in real life, or that type of dog in real life, and I just want it in my collection of dogs, the dogs that I'm walking in this game, because it's a game about walking dogs. It has a few different mini games in it. One of them is this one-way action selection track. I love that mechanism in games. You can see it right here. That's when you actually take the dogs for a walk. There's also this like mini engine building, in that every time you take dogs for a walk, you decide which dogs you want to take, if you can entice them to go on the walk with you. And that's your engine for that round. But then those dogs are set aside. You may not have to walk them again for the rest of the game if you don't want to. And so I like this little, like, you're building an engine for that specific round and then reconfiguring it for future rounds. And I also really, really like the goals in the game. These goals for getting different breeds, and you get you randomly place these cards, or types of dogs. They're not breeds, categories of dogs. You put these cards out here, and they're worth different points at the end of the game if you have the most in any of those categories. It's just a pleasant, beautiful game. It's easy to get to the table. It's easy to teach and go through. I've had a blast playing Dog Park in 2022, and that's why it's my number 7 favorite game of this year. The next game I just played for the first time yesterday. I've only played it once. So there might be some newness to why I put this game on the list. But I really, really enjoyed my first play, and I can't wait to play again. And that is Bullet. Bullet is a game, again, I haven't even done a video about Bullet yet. But Bullet, I played it 2 players. You can play it up to 4 players. You can also play it solo or cooperatively. We played a 2-player dueling version of Bullet. And in Bullet, you have an asymmetric character. You see the characters here. And they're a mat that goes along with them, their character mat, and their ability mat. It's a little tough to describe this game, but basically you are drawing tokens out of a bag and putting them where you must put them based on their color. There are 5 different columns here of different colors. You must put the token in one of those rows based on the color and based on the number on that token. And you're doing that in such a way for 2 reasons. One, you are trying to prevent those tokens from getting down to the bottom, or that you draw any token that would go down to the bottom, and that takes one of your lives from your character. Trying to avoid that, but you're also trying to set up different patterns, and you can see them very small here, different patterns on your mat, so that you can remove those tokens from your mat, because you do not want tokens on your mat. And when you remove them, you give them to the player on your left. And at the beginning of the next round, that player must add them to their bag along with some other tokens. It sounds very abstract, and in many ways it is, but it is just such an interesting puzzle to go through. And there's a push your luck element of, like, when do you try to manipulate and move around these tokens so you can remove them versus when you draw more from your bag. That timing aspect feels so good, deciding like when to use those abilities, when to keep drawing, which patterns to go after accomplishing, and even which tokens to remove at certain times, because certain tokens are better to remove than others. Bullet is a fantastic puzzly game. It's really even, I would say, one of the best dueling games I've ever played, because you are directly competing against another player, but in the moment you're acting simultaneously and you're not hurting them in the moment. You're only hurting them for the next round. You're adding more tokens to their bag for the next round. So you get to see, as you have like piled up, you've accumulated all these tokens that were on your mat, you're piling them up in front of you that your opponent has to add to their bag for the next round. I just had a blast playing this. I've been thinking about it ever since I played it. I can't wait to play it again. at even higher player counts too, because you're always just passing those tokens to the left. So you're kind of dueling the player to your left. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Bullet. I can't wait to try the other characters too, because they're all asymmetric. They have asymmetric decks and asymmetric abilities. Bullet is my number 6 favorite game of 2022, and I can't wait to play it more in 2023. At number 5 is Living Forest, another game that was widely available in 2022 but did come out a little bit earlier than that. Living Forest is another push your luck game where you're drawing cards from the top of your deck. It's a deck building push your luck game. You're drawing cards from the top of the deck until you decide to stop. And you're using the resources on those cards to take either 1 or 2 actions that round. Take 2 actions if you didn't bust during that card draw phase. You're taking 1 action if you did bust. And this is a great way, I think, to do push your luck. Quacks of Quedlinburg does it as well, where even if you bust, you still get something very good that moves your game forward, but there's still a strong incentive not to bust in Living Forest. Yeah, I talk about it in much more detail in a video that I have about it, but I love that push your luck element of the game. There's different engine building things that you're doing. You're gaining permanent icons that you can permanently use for the rest of the game for resources. You could add cards to your deck. And there are 3 different, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe there are 3 different win conditions. One related to planting trees, one related to having a certain amount of a resource, a lotus, available to you or created that round when you were drawing cards. And I'm forgetting the last one right now, but there's, the fire tokens. There's removing fire tokens is another way to trigger the end of the game. It's a really, really fun push your luck game with deck building in it. I highly recommend Living Forest. That's my number 5 favorite game of 2022. And number 4 is another very recent game that I love. I've constantly been thinking about the mechanisms from this game because they're so much fun, and that is Lands of Galazir. This is a persistent, non-campaign game, which I think is a brilliant twist to the traditional campaign format, where the world is evolving, the characters in this game are evolving, but I don't need to play those characters. I don't need to play this game every time I get to the table, and we can have other people come in and play with us anytime that we want to continue to evolve the world and evolve the characters in that world. I think that's brilliant. That it has that sense of progression and persistence without requiring the same players to play every time, and really without having a set beginning or end to the campaign. We'll just continue to play as the world evolves and the characters evolve over time. The game also features, beautiful art, fun characters, fun writing, a great, I don't want to say an app because it's not an app, but it's a web-based storybook that you can download, so it's not even web-based if you don't want it to be. Beautiful dice. It's a great skill test system. I think it's a really clever skill test system where you know some information about the skill test. You know if it's going to be really, really hard to complete the skill test with a certain type of skill or easier with another one, but you don't have full information about it. You're not completely going after numbers. You're just kind of doing the best you can based on some information that you have. I've had a blast playing this so far, and I really look forward to playing more Lands of Galazir in 2023. That's my number 4 favorite game of this year. At number 3, this top 3 was really difficult. Even Lands of Galazir, I really enjoyed that. I mean, that could easily have been anywhere in this top 4. But Cat in the Box is one of my most played and favorite games of 2022. This is a trick-taking game where the cards don't have suits, and you define the suit for that card when you play it. So you have a 7 and you say, okay, this is a blue 7. And then from then on, you mark that on the box. You use a little token to put a little token on that blue 7 to say, like, the blue 7 has been played this round. And you're doing this for a few different reasons. One, you're trying to win tricks. Tricks are worth points in general, unless you do something specific, unless you paradox. And you're also trying to bid on how many tricks that you'll win. And if you bid correctly, so if I say, I think I'm going to win 2 tricks this round, and you successfully do that, then you actually get to look at the position of your tokens on the board, and you find the biggest group. You find the biggest group of connected tokens, and you get 1 point for each token in that group. So it's a little bit of an abstract element to it that incentivizes you to get exactly what your bid was. All the while, you're trying not to paradox. And a paradox happens if the cards in your hand have essentially already been played. So if I have a 7 and a 5 left in my hand, but there's already a red 7 that's been played, a red blue that's been played, a red yellow, and a red green. And or I have said at a certain point in the round that I no longer have yellow cards. Even if there's a yellow 7 available out there, I've already told everyone I don't have any yellow cards in hand, and so I don't have any yellow cards in hand, and I can't play that yellow 7. And so I would paradox. I would end the round, and if you paradox, you lose points for every trick that you've taken that round instead. Again, it's one of those games that doesn't really make all that much sense in the first round. You have to play through a round to get it. But once you get it, it's such a clever, fun, sneaky, trick-taking game. Actually, no, sneaky isn't the right word, but kind of whimsical, I think is the right word, because you are playing cards without suits and you are declaring that they have suits, and you're saying to all other players, I don't have any more blue cards, even though none of the cards in your hand have any blue on them at all. It's such a fun game. Cat in the Box. I highly recommend it. That's my number 3 favorite game of 2022. I don't own either of my top 2 games, except one that I'll mention in a second. At number 2, I have the Guild of Merchant Explorers. This is essentially a game of exploration, but exploration that's very abstracted onto a map. You are building out this map on your table, with tokens over multiple rounds. And it's a simultaneous game where you have a card that comes up and it says, like, you have to put some tokens on mountains this round, or this turn. And so all players will put some tokens on mountains, but they'll put them on different mountains. So you're doing this at different times on your own individual map, and players will end up building out their maps in very different ways. And one of the biggest hooks of this game, other than the simultaneous play, which I really, really love, and other than the different maps, because there are, I believe, 4 different maps in the base game that you can use. One of the big hooks is that at the end of the round, any cubes on your board are wiped away. There are only a few certain types of tokens, I think they're called outposts maybe, or maybe they're cities, I think they're cities, that remain on your map. And so everything else is wiped away. It's essentially a clean slate. And so you're building towards these permanent tokens so that you have that sense of permanence in the game, but you also have this sense of refreshing and resetting that can give you a new start at the beginning of the next round. I think that's really clever. I haven't seen that in many games where rounds are used to reset major things that you've built over the course of the round, and yet you still have a strong sense of progression and completion in the game. I had a blast playing it. When Megan and I got this game to the table, there was a weekend where we just played it over and over again. We play a game, we play another one, because it plays fast, it plays smooth, it's simultaneous, so you're always doing something. And the order in which the cards come out, like so if a card comes out and says mountains at the beginning of the round, that will have a different feel than if the mountains card comes out at the end of the round. And you're also adding new variable cards to that display over the course of the round. Oh, really, it's not. It's your personal display that you're adding cards to. So there'll be a card that comes up that says, activate your special unique card for this round, and you have your own special unique card. So even though it's still simultaneous, you have your own special card that connects with that card that comes out. Watch my video on it, because it's a really, really cool game. I can't wait to play more of it. The Guild of Merchant Explorers. I would gladly play this game at any time. It's a wonderful game. I have 2 games for my number 1 pick. One of them that I won't spend much time on is Ark Nova. And I won't spend much time on it because Ark Nova was my number 2 game of 2021. I got the game then. I probably shouldn't have put it on my top 10 list then because it wasn't widely available at that time. But I was so enthused by it that I ended up putting it on that list. I loved Ark Nova. It would be my number 1 game of 2022 if I had played it for the first time in 2022. But I played it a couple times last year. I love the game though, and I wanted to mention it here. I know it's on many people's lists for 2022 because that's when they got it to the table for the first time. I love this game. I have a whole video where I talk about how much I love this game. Not just a favorite mechanism video, but like a 10 things I learned about Ark Nova, or learned about game design from Ark Nova. Great game. However, because I already put that on my list from last year, I have a different game for my number 1 game of 2022, and that game is Planet Unknown. This is another simultaneous play game. That seems to be a theme here. Maybe I need to consider designing a simultaneous game because I am loving this style of play. Living Forest has it, Bullet has it, Guild of Merchant Explorers has it, Planet Unknown has it. Yeah, lots of simultaneous play here. In Planet Unknown, it is a polyomino game where you have a planet, either a set planet that everyone else has, or an asymmetric planet, which I haven't delved all that much into, and yet I've still really, really enjoyed the game. There's one player who turns this kind of turntable of polyomino tokens to orient them to orient a certain slot for tiles that they want to select that round, and they will choose one of those tiles from this turntable, and then every other player will be seated in such a way that they are oriented with one of the other sections of the turntable, and those are the tiles that they can pick from. They have to pick one of those tiles and put it somewhere on their planet. And when you put that tile on the planet, you gain 2 benefits right away. You get to move up 2 tracks on your engine building board. I believe it's called your corporation board. All these things that I just described are things that I love. I love polyominoes. I love simultaneous play. I love double rewards in games. I love engine building. It is so satisfying to play Planet Unknown. And there's hardly any downtime at all because of that simultaneous play. So even though you have really interesting decisions that you're making throughout the game, all players are doing that at the same time. And it means there isn't a lot of interaction in the game, but I don't care at all. I don't think every game needs to have a ton of player interaction. In this game, it offers such a fun puzzle as you're trying to determine where to put your polyomino tile on your map to get the most points to move your engine forward, to decide which order you want to move your engine forward. It has a little bit of a feel of tapestry in that way. And that anytime you play, you might say, okay, this is the track that I'm really going to push up this game first. And that will have a vastly different impact on your game as if you had moved up a different track instead, or prioritized one track over another. And those tracks, again, are tied to the different colors on the tile that you place in your planet. So it's really triple bonuses because you're filling up your planet, and then you're also getting 2 different benefits as a result. I love this game. Planet Unknown is so much fun. I would gladly play it at any time. I really look forward to exploring the asymmetry in the game because I haven't explored that all that much, and yet I'm still having a blast with the basic planet in the game. I think that says a lot of how much fun this game is. I highly recommend trying it if you get the chance. Yeah, Planet Unknown is my #1 favorite game of 2022. I've talked for a long time here now. I'd love for you to talk now in the comments. Let me know your top 3 or your top 5 or even your top 10 favorite games of 2022. Games that were released or widely available in 2022. I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the other categories. Your favorite digital game that you played this year, your favorite expansion from 2022, your favorite Stonemaier game that you played this year, if you'd like to share that. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also maybe the 2023 release that you're most excited about, and any games from 2022, any big games that you didn't get to play but you're excited to play in the near future. Anything you want to share in the comments below, I look forward to hearing from you there. All right. I hope for more fun gaming experiences in 2023. I'll see you then. Bye.